your chance to be Stringfellow Hawk in Airwolf 2. Imagine the picture. It's 1987 and you work for Elite Systems. And you're thinking to yourselves, we want to put out a compilation. But you don't want to put out your latest and greatest games, and everything else has already gone out in a compilation. So you publish Trio. 3 games for each system, although bizarrely 4 games on the cover, just to confuse things, thanks Elite, all of which have never been released before. So 3 new games for your system for £9.99. And one of these games was Airwolf 2. The original Airwolf had been quite a big hit for Elite, but it wasn't a terribly good game. We reviewed that many years ago on ChinnyVision. We start off on the Spectrum. It's a 48k game, even though it's 1987, so there's no music on the menu screen or in the game. The aim of the game is not exactly taken from the TV series. Airwolf has to defeat some aliens who've invaded or something. So, ostensibly, Airwolf seems to be flying through space. It looks like Nemesis, but to fool you, you're going from right to left. See what they did there? You have a series of power-ups which you pick up in Nemesis fashion via those dots that I've picked up there. So now I've got a ×2 double speed power-up in the bank. I can activate with the return key, the enter key, when I want to. And like Airwolf 1, you have to blast your way through barriers, and it's quite hard. Over to the CPC, where the Airwolf... I think that's the same loading screen as Airwolf 1, isn't it? With 2 added to it. Looks quite nice. Copyright Hit Pack 1987. The game's so good, Elite didn't want to put their actual name on it. And look, there's the Airwolf theme. Well, it sounds like something, doesn't it? Axel F. The Amstrad version has at least sound. It is a straight port of the Spectrum. And you control the Bell 222. Was it 222? From the series, where it's a Bell 222 with lots of plastic bolted onto it, isn't it? 222A? I think. I don't know, I'm more of an Augusta 109 person. Over to the 64. Music by Mark Cooksey, who's heard many tunes and combined them all into one here. And this is 1987 on the C64. Wow. I say it so often on ChinnyVision, but Shoot 'em Up Construction Kit is springing to mind here. The game's cover promises realistic helicopter flight controls, compulsive gameplay, and multiple scrolling levels. This is very realistic helicopter handling. The helicopter in space, I mean... yeah. Commodore 16 got a version because, of course, Elite. And actually, it's not looking that far off the 64 version, is it? You can forgive this more on the C16. It only has 16K, so... it is exactly the same game setup, though. Power-ups are smart bomb, lasers, double shots, or shield. It's so obvious. It's a rip-off of Nemesis. Back to the Spectrum. Another barrier. Oh! Just got through there, and the colour changes. This is the multiple levels. The game doesn't tell you you've gone on to another level. The colour just changes. And now I've activated a laser because I've got enough power-ups for that. And the laser is the best power-up to have in terms of firing. And you do keep some of the laser power-up stays with you when you die. Some of the other power-ups are only temporary. Especially the shield, which has an annoying habit of running out just when you don't want it to, because it gives you no warning. Go through lots of tight gaps. Okay, it's 3 games for $9.99. So you're not going to expect a huge amount until you remember there's far better compilations on the market for the kind of money. And Elite must have had this game and thought, yeah, we can't do this at full price. On the Amstrad, there is music. It starts at just about a point into the second section of the game and then ends and goes back to sound effects in a really bizarre way. Why doesn't it start at the beginning? Why doesn't it carry on the entire time? If you're noticing the CPC capture here is looking a little bit softer than the other systems, then the other systems were captured on my new RetroTink, but the CPC was captured on the old setup. I'm transitioning across, even though I know I reviewed the RetroTink weeks ago. ChinnyVision kind of works on a cache, so episodes don't go out in order. Onto the Spectrum, and oh look, it's a volcano spewing out stuff. It's Nemesis, but there are a few baddies in here. There's some walking things that are straight out of... There we go, there's the walking thing. That's straight out of R-Type. This feels like a shoot-'em-up that's basically had the helicopter added. That originally was a spaceship, perhaps a game destined for budget or submitted to Elite over to 64 now. And what's happened is they've added Airwolf to it. Here's a big baddie in the 64 version. Goodness knows what it is. It's a toast. Are we shooting toast? What is it? Oh. And that's the big piece of toast destroyed. And I managed to pick up that power up there that I couldn't quite reach earlier. And now the game on the 64 becomes pretty much impossible because there's enemies firing at you everywhere and that some of them spawn out from nowhere. Same baddie we saw on the 64, except drawn much better. It looks like a spacecraft on the C16. Why couldn't the 64 have a baddie that looked like that? And now what's happened is I've picked up a double speed power-up, which basically makes the helicopter impossible to manoeuvre through small spaces because the controls become so twitchy, and I can't lose it. I'm stuck with it now to the end of the game. Oh! Yeah. It's like the coders of the 64 and C16 version just decided to make it utterly impossible, so you will never complete the game. There's all these small gaps on the C16 to squeeze through. Not even the small ones. All of them are just really hard. Back to the Spectrum. Got my shield active, so nothing can shoot me at the moment. There's a walker thing down there. Use my laser to get through there. Oh, just squeeze through. And on to the next section, which is a different colour and rocks you can't shoot. I do have an invulnerability cheat on the Spectrum now, because you don't seriously think I could play this tripe through this far, did you? Yeah, you can see, I mean, Elite have a history of putting out games that were perhaps intended to be full price and then stick them out in compilations or on the Encore label. This also came out on Encore. What was that game on the CPC that never got released? Cuckatony Wilf, that was it, because it was so terrible. And then Elite put it out on budget and went, previously unreleased game. And look at these baddies on the C64, they spawn out of the air, which makes the game just utterly impossible. Because you won't know where they're spawning from and you will just die. Apparently the C64 version has a hidden section, a hidden level, which can be accessed with hacks. And apparently it was dropped for being too easy. Another thing about the C64 version is it's apparently the second Airwolf game, second Airwolf 2 game, Elite had in development. There was another game in development and for whatever reason that fell to one side, and this is the game we got. End of game baddie on the C16. But wait, it's not actually the end of game baddie, because look, you're in space and it's space aliens, but there's another helicopter to shoot. It's a space helicopter and he's red. It's just why is there a space helicopter to defeat? Just Airwolf in space. Oh. This is worse than Series 4. Shooting the end of game baddie on the 64. I have infinite lives, so I'm just being reckless now. And look, I can fly behind him with my infinite lives because he advances forward but doesn't move in any direction. Just so. Just why have you made your end of game baddie so rubbish? Congratulations, terrific play. Now try a harder level. You mean this is going to be... The game's going to loop around and this is going to be harder? End of game on the Spectrum. And we've got a spaceship to defeat. And he shrinks down. Will he turn into a helicopter? What's going to happen? Got the balls back. Is there more gameplay? Or, no, hang on, I remember the beginning of the game had a power-up about that point. We've gone back to the start of the game, haven't we? Airwolf 2, the worst thing to happen to Airwolf since Season 4. Oh my. You can see why they stuck it out on a compilation with 2 other equally terrible games. The first Airwolf game was nothing to write home about, but my, this one takes the biscuit. On the Spectrum, Commodore and Amstrad, they all have the same fault. Baddies spawning from nowhere, having to squeeze through tiny spaces, repetitive gameplay that's derived from far better games like Nemesis and R-Type. And yes, okay, it's only £3 as part of the compilation, but then you start comparing it against budget games at the time like, for example, Kronos, which is not a particularly special shoot 'em up on the Spectrum and Amstrad, but it certainly plays far better than this. C16, actually, for the system, isn't too bad, because you have lower expectations. It's 16K, it's the C16, and on a system with not that many great shoot 'em ups, it actually plays okay. It is nothing special, but on the 16 you don't have Nemesis, you don't have R-Type. What I don't know is if it was originally released at full price on its own on the C16 or part of the compilation. I don't really know, but you wouldn't have complained too much because on that system, as I say, it's acceptable. Elite like nothing more than flogging a dead horse, and if the original Airwolf game was a dead horse, then this thing is a tin of out-of-date dog food.